Hey, I'm going to ask a question right now, and I want you to think of the most honest answer, the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay? Ready? Here's the question. Who are you? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Go ahead, pause this video if you want, and then come back. Let's discuss the power of identity here. Who are you? Hey guys, my name is Nandeep, and that is one of my identities. Now, you could have said the same thing when I asked that question, who are you? Because, see, I have asked this question to a lot of my trainees, and I get different answers, and it's interesting to see how people have different identities. And I realize that all of these identities are something that is relevant to that particular point in their life. It is relevant to that particular time period in their life. Like for example, one person has told me that, you know, I'm just another student who's going through this poor education system. So that is more of a victimhood side of his identity, and that's what came to his mind first. And another person said, I'm the spouse of this person, and I'm the boyfriend of this person, and a lot of things. So it could have been anything that could have come to your mind. But think about it really. Was that the same identity a couple of years ago? Or how long do you think that identity is going to be, whatever you thought in your mind? Is that going to be the same thing 2 years after now, or 1 year after, from this point of view? So it is all like something that is relative and something that is not permanent, right? I think it's best to have, most powerful thing to have is an identity that is absolute. It is not relative, temporary, but something that is always going to be there till you die, no matter other things are going on in your life. Because, see, when we have a lot of diverse identities, a lot of diverse goals that we want to pursue in life, then we're going to be more stressed. The less wishes, goals that we have, we're going to be less stressed, or rather, the more aligned these goals are. Like it has to be underpinning to something that is a core identity for you, right? And that could be anything. That could be serving people, for example, and not just making money. So if you're a business person, and if the answer that you thought in your mind was, I'm a business person, I have so much of influence and I have so much of money, right? Influence in terms of people and things like that. So if that was your core identity, and if you have identified yourself and invested a lot of identity in that aspect of your life, then something should happen there and you get really upset, right? Whether it is business loss or things like that, and it becomes difficult for you to become more resilient. Crisis management becomes a much heavier task for you. So it depends from person to person. Whereas if there was a higher identity, not complete investment on that, if there was a higher identity, whether it is family for some people or a service attitude. If you have a service attitude and money is just a byproduct of the service that you do, then no matter what happens in your business, there is the spirit of service that keeps you going. And that identity, that is more powerful. If I wake you up at 3 a.m. in the morning, who are you? What do you do? And if you say that, I'm a person who does service by doing this to people, then that's a much better thing to have as an identity. So it is more, life is more simpler when you have aligned goals rather than diverse goals, because you have a lot of things to chase in life. It's just like an actor. He plays different roles, but he has his own identity, no matter if he identifies himself with a lot of different roles and plays that character. Speaking of which, let me share this real life example here. This actor called Heath Ledger, the brilliant actor who played the iconic character, the Joker, in the movie Dark Knight. He perfected the character. But the problem, you see, he got identified with the character so much so that he locked up in a room in order to prepare for this character. He walked the way the Joker walks, talked the way the Joker talks, and he got completely identified with the character. Now, just on a side note here, the same character Joker was played by many characters, many actors. One of which was Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson played the Joker character earlier, and apparently Jack Nicholson warned Heath Ledger, asking him not to get too identified with the character. It's a risky character to play. You need to be very strong mentally because it can disturb your identity and your mental wellness. And even, in fact, after Heath Ledger's death, Jack Nicholson reportedly said that I warned him not to get too identified with the character, right? So we know that he died of overdose. Heath Ledger died of drug overdose, but there's also a lot of belief that that character that he played and the way he prepared himself affected, there was a deeper cause behind that. So that's the power of identity. The Joker character is not an easy character to play, and even though he won the award, that was at a cost of a lot of his personal self. So it is best that we have an identity that is underpinning, that is more aligned, whether it's your relationship based identity, whether it's your professional based identity. If there is a thread that is hanging on all of these that connects everything together, right, that thread should be your identity. That is more fulfilling in life rather than having really separate identities, because if we are stumbling in our professional wellness, then we come back to our relationships and try to show our frustrations on them or demand a lot of understanding and affection from the relationship. So when it is seen in a much broader level, we have this common identity and we know that these are all different aspects of life, and I don't have to necessarily show my frustrations on my family or my family frustrations on my work, because we don't see that as something that is very diverse. Speaking of which, there is nothing called work-life balance. I don't know whoever came with this term work-life balance, because the moment you see work as something that is apart from life, that makes it a lot of difficulties or problems in the identity of what you're doing in life. You just have a life, and work is a part of life. So there's really nothing called work-life balance. In fact, you spend more time in your work than in life. Then how do you expect yourself to be satisfied in life, right? So it is really important to be evolving in the identities that you have in life, and have an evolved identity. What is your core identity? The core identity. And I guess one of the best ways to do this as a practice is to consider your past and your present and the things that you have gone through in life, and then reflect on yourself and then find out this identity, what really satisfies you on a deeper level, right? Not just the outside things. If you're a mother and you have a baby, your identity is not a caretaker to the baby, though that is what is happening, but the identity is that of a mother. Right? Because when you identify yourself as an activity based identity, then you're going to have imbalances in your perspectives and your life. Because if you're a caretaker, then you might say to your baby, look, I give you love 24 hours a day, every minute, but can't you show back a little love? Now that would sound more babyish than the baby itself, because the baby is in the receiving end of love, not in the giving end of love, right? Whereas the mother, if it had thought just to be the mother, and there is this unconditional love identified with the personality of a mother, this is just an example to portray that any activity based identity is not a healthy identity to have. A more intrinsic identity is much healthier one, and that can lead to fulfillment.